What's popping in the movie theater business? We track the latest trends.
We continue our Women and Girls Lead series.
And look at how electric cars are inspiring at-risk teens to succeed.
Principal funding for the local show provided by Francis Family Foundation, Frederick and Louise Hartwig Family Fund, Kaufman Foundation, Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City, Hall Family Foundation, Johnson County Community College. Additional support provided by and KCPT members. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Nick Haynes. Welcome to The Local Show. Last year, the number of people going to movie theaters in the United States hit a 16-year low.
With state-of-the-art home theater systems, Redbox kiosks, Netflix, and movies you can download to your phone, is it any wonder movie theaters are finding it hard to compete?
Last month, Overland Park-based movie theater chain Dickinson Theaters declared bankruptcy. They own close to half a dozen area theaters, including the West Glen and the Palazzo, and the Blue Springs 8, which they now plan to close. And with Kansas City-based AMC recently selling to China, we thought it would be interesting to find out what on earth is going on in the movie theater business with someone whose thoughts are prized on the subject.
David Brain is president and CEO of Entertainment Properties in Kansas City, which has invested over $1.4 billion in over 100 megaplex theaters around the country, housing more than 2,000 movie screens.
You know, there's been a 23% reduction in the number of movie theaters in the United States since 2002. I mean, this can't be a good time to be in the movie theater business.
Well, that's the kind of statistic that often is used to mislead people about the business, which is fundamentally very healthy. Since 2002, for the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of growth in the number of screens at a single location. A lot of 6-screen theaters, 3 6-screen theaters in the neighborhood have gone to a single 16 to 24-screen theater. Therein, you've lost a number of locations or theaters, but you've not really changed seats or screens.
How do you explain what's happened then in our own market here? We have Dickinson Movie Theaters that owns the Palazzo, the West Glen, the Great Mall Theater there that people know, and they're filing for bankruptcy?
They're filing for bankruptcy. They're just late to a party that occurred 6 and 8 and even 10 years before for a lot of the other theater operators. Dickinson has some less productive, older locations. Very often, just as we are a landlord to the theater industry, we're not a landlord to them, but they are a tenant, and they're very long-term leases, 15 and 20-year leases. Dickinson finally got to the point they decided structurally to try and release themselves of a lot of these long-term obligations of less productive locations, and they're undertaking bankruptcy to do that.
So it doesn't mean that the Palazzo, which is a newer part of their chain, is not a going concern?
Exactly, and that's exactly the case. It is a manner of restructuring a lot of your long-term obligations, and it's not that all of the industry is not bad and not all of your locations are unproductive. So the company, I expect, will emerge intact or possibly be bought out of bankruptcy by somebody else who's looking for the locations. When you go into these court restructures, it's a little bit of a jump ball. You're not exactly sure, and you're not fully in control of how they come out. So the company may be bought out of this process, may be bought at the end of this process, but they have healthy portions, and they're a good company in many, many respects, even though they're taking bankruptcy, and many of the locations are healthy.
Help us understand another aspect of the business here of movie theaters. We hear that movie theaters themselves actually make barely any money at all from your ticket when you go and see a movie, and that almost all of the money is coming from the concession. So unless you're buying and taking a second mortgage out on your home to purchase the popcorn and the soft drink, they're not making any money on the ticket. Is that really true?
Well, again, popular impression, but not really true. And I think the popular impression was fueled a little bit by theater operators who want you to believe that and want to sell the higher margin item, which is the concession item, no doubt, no question about it. But the split between the studios and the theater operators has been and continues to be about a 50-50 split. Varies by title. There are different there are different negotiated terms on different films, particularly relative to promotional budgets. The higher promotional budget films, studio wants a higher share. But largely, Nick, it ends up over the runs of many films over the course of a year, about a 50-50 split. So on that $8 ticket, the studio is making $4 and the theater operator's making $4.
Now, we also have AMC movie theaters right here in our own backyard.
Yes.
And we learned this summer that AMC, that has been a Kansas City company for 90 years,
Yes.
moves from Kansas City to Leawood,
Yes.
but also then sells to the Wanda Group, which is a Chinese company.
Yes.
Now, from a movie-going point of view, and we've seen lots of business stories about what this means to shareholders and all of this, but from a movie-going point of view, does it make any difference whatsoever?
Not a lot, but at the margin, yes, and a positive difference, because the Dalian Wanda, or Wanda Group, as they're often referred to, will be an aggressive and long-term oriented owner, where the ownership, particularly the last several years, 5 to 7 years of AMC, has been short-term and financially oriented. So you have a change of ownership to a strategic ownership that's very interested in the industry, attuned to the industry, and very long-term. So I think some of the property maintenance and some of the innovation things that AMC has capable of deploying will be deployed more aggressively, and you'll have an increase in the customer experience, more so than you've had in the last few years.
Now, one way that AMC was using to get people into the theaters was, just a few years ago, was reserved seating.
Yes.
And you had the opportunity, just like on an airline,
Yes.
you would pick your seat.
Yes.
And they got rid of that whole system.
Yes.
But that was, I thought, was attractive to some people, and you actually paid more for that
Yes.
privilege. What happened to that? Why wasn't that successful?
I can't really tell you exactly why that wasn't successful. In fact, it's hard to change people's habits. But the movie-going experience is changing, and it's changing fundamentally from a single-class experience to a multi-class experience. There is emerging, and there will be solidifying over the next several years, kind of a coach, business class, first class model, to use an airline analogy that people are familiar with, when it comes to the movies. And reserve seating likely will be part of the business and first class, but it probably won't be in the coach class. And there was an attempt to overlay it into more of the coach class experience. So upgraded seating, smaller auditoriums, higher service levels, and reserve seating will emerge and be a part of the landscape in the future.
But you're all going to be in the same theater. There'll be just different sections of the theater, like on an airline?
Possibly,
David?
but largely not. The emerging model is to break out separate auditoriums for those separate classes of services. In some cases, though, there will be segmenting of the single auditorium to those separate classes.
Will you be paying more for an aisle seat, David?
Possibly, likely not. It probably will be seat size and spacing and service that will dictate pricing more than specific location in the theater.
Now, why is it that they have still these front seats in these movie theaters that nobody ever wants to be in? You crane your neck, you have a stiff neck at the
Yes.
end of the experience. Why aren't those? Why do they still even have those at the front of the theater? Why don't they remove those, or have those at a cheaper rate, for instance, than the other seats in the theater?
Well, there has been some thought to the yield pricing, the latter point. They have those largely for film negotiation purposes very often, to be able to tell the studio, I'm going to devote 3 auditoriums and 1,500 seats to this show, and therein they go negotiate better film rent, even though there's not a high likelihood of selling all those 1,500 seats. So it's a throwback, and it's a contributor to the film negotiation. I will tell you, though, Nick, particularly AMC has now been utilizing a almost near full horizontal motorized lounge chair in some of their upper rows, and cutting those rows effectively in half in order to give the seat room to recline. So where there were 9 rows, there might be 4 or 5. And this is proving to be attractive. People are interested in an auditorium where they can go to those upper rows and get this motorized lounge chair and get more of a suitable viewing angle, and they're liking it a lot. And the people are willing to pay full rate for that.
Now, one of the other trends that we see, certainly in Kansas City, with regards to the added bells and whistles, is this so-called dining in the theatre, and with AMC, as we've been talking about them, there's the fork and screen experience.
Yes.
Currently, that's only at the great, the one in Olathe.
Yes.
And you can eat and have a whole menu and drinks right there in the theatre and eat at the same time.
Yes.
How is that working out?
It's working out very well, but it's taken a little bit of time, like changing people's habits we talked about in the reserve seating. It's taken a little bit of time. The curious thing is, when you went to Olathe and you had a choice of a $7 ticket or a $17 ticket, when introduced, the $7 ticket always sold out first. And then people, if they wanted to see the title and there was no capacity left at $7, they would buy the $17 ticket, sometimes grudgingly, but they would attend it. Interestingly now, 20 months after introduction, the $17 ticket sells out first. People are now recognize it takes a little more time of adoption, but it will be a part of the industry.
Now, there were two places where you could actually eat in the movie theater as a part of AMC. One was in the Olathe and one was at the AMC Main Street. But AMC just sold that restaurant. Now it's going to be part of the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema. If that was such a successful concept, why did AMC sell that theater?
That movement away from that theater and sale to Alamo was more of a friction between AMC and the Cordish company that's running the entire Power and Light District. And Cordish had a lot of capability of dictating some operational characteristics to AMC that AMC did not like, and was really, there was just a point of contention there that needed to be resolved, and the best way to resolve it was for AMC to sell that property.
What other trends are we seeing then for the future then in movie theaters? We've talked about some in Kansas City.
Yes.
What else is happening around the country that we might be seeing in the future right here in our own metropolitan area, David?
You're going to see these multiple classes of seating, density, size of auditorium, and interestingly now we're also seeing some branded foods move into the theater operation. So you'll traditionally, when you've been in the theater, they've all been, well, they've been branded packaged foods in terms of candy and so forth, but branded prepared foods of a nature of brand names you will recognize, restaurateurs, maybe even not national chains, but sometimes even local chains. But this will begin to occur, that some of the branded restaurant chains are interested in coming in the theaters and negotiating deals that are acceptable to theater operators. And the other thing you'll see, Nick, is as we've now moved past the 50% point with the digital conversion of the industry, you will begin to see presentation of materials other than Hollywood films, events, concerts, special even town hall meetings for political candidates and things going on of a significantly different nature that will bring out audience interaction. So you'll begin to see that at a different level than you've ever seen it in a movie theater. These will be presentation auditoriums, content-rich facilities, but not necessarily just movies.
David Brain, President and CEO of the Entertainment Property Trust Group. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. It's been fun. Thank you.
It's intermission. Rise and stretch time. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for hot popcorn? Your favorite soft drinks are sparkling cold. The juicy Frank sizzling hot. There's delicious coffee, freshly brewed, and all kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. So stretch your legs. Come to the snack bar now.
Just 1 minute to go. Hey, fellas, don't fight over that hot dog. There's plenty for everyone. Big, plump, and juicy, wrapped in an oven-fresh bun. Add mustard, relish, ketchup, and go to work. Yes, the hot dogs at our refreshment center are the best you'll find anywhere. Everybody agrees on that.
Hey, kids, how would you like to hear this on the screen instead of the great show you came to see? That's what you sound like. Honest. Please cooperate and do your part in keeping this theater quiet so everyone, including you, can enjoy it. Now remember, lots of adults and kids, too, paid admission to enjoy the show. We must insist on absolute quiet. Otherwise, we will be forced to evict all disturbance makers from the theater. Those asked to leave today will be refused admission to this theater in the future. Thank you.
And now, on with the show.
At first glance, you might not see much of a connection between the building of electric cars and at-risk high school-aged kids. But MindDrive, a Kansas City, Missouri-based nonprofit, is making one. Coming up next on The Local Show, producer Kara Myers profiles this local nonprofit where at-risk teens are not only building innovative electric vehicles, but are also being inspired to learn and expand their vision of the future. When we're so often told about the problems of young people, here's a positive story for a change.
When any of us grow up in a particular environment, a neighborhood, a culture, etc., in many ways we are defined by that demographic and either limiting our capacity or not. Everybody is now starting to realize that the health of an individual is more determined by their zip code than by the genetics that they carry.
An at-risk student is a student that has many things that are happening in their life that they may not really have control over. They're having to grow up just entirely too quick.
I am more excited about MindDrive than any other educational program that I'm in touch with now, and that's significant.
MindDrive is an after-school program for at-risk youth, and it's based on mentor participation, and we basically have one mentor per student. We teach them through hands-on experiential learning. The topic is to create an electric, environmentally sound automobile, or the other class we have is contemporary communications, and all kids are interested in cars and all kids are interested in computers, so it's a pretty easy hook. Our goal is to inspire them to learn, to expand their vision of the future, which will influence their ability to get a job. We do this with the mentors and with the hands-on experiential learning.
When she got up early and went, you know, those first couple of times and kept going, I knew she'd stick with it. I don't think I went inside for a couple of weeks. And when I did finally go inside, I was really kind of shocked because it wasn't at all what I expected. It was like, wow, they really are building cars.
And this program, I think, really hits home in that the students are allowed the freedom to apply their talents on a first-hand basis, not learn about it dramatically and spend a lot of time researching. They're able to hand them the tool and they can come right out and use the tool.
It took me a while to figure out why, but her grades started really climbing. I mean, really climbing higher and higher. I think because of the way they go in and they kind of sit in that classroom and then do it hands-on, I think it's helping her brain develop a different way to study.
Einer, desde que está en este programa, ha sido un niño que ha mejorado mucho.
I think we have proven with these students that innovation is possible anywhere, anytime. If you take students that are all significantly disadvantaged by almost any definition you want to apply and put them in a class, and 1 year later produce a car that is beautiful, that is known all over the planet, that has broken all the records for efficiency by a factor of at least 3, that's innovation.
What MindDrive has meant to me is a lifetime of something new, something that I did.
MindDrive has helped me a lot, well, because that I always used to get in trouble. I really didn't want to do nothing with my life. I was gonna drop out in freshman year, but right after I joined it, my whole life changed.
What I noticed the most about the kids at the beginning of the program and at the end of the program is their confidence and their pride in what they've accomplished.
A lot of these students are lacking voices in their life. They may not have a male influence in their life. And they may have an engineer, a male engineer that they work with. It's just another voice in their life that can help guide them.
And I think in many ways they are transforming one another.
To come to the program with that spiritual knowledge that when we expect great things from them, they can do great things.
I'm hoping that through experiences of Mind Drive, that the students will then become very successful and pillars in their community. And they're our future. Investing in our future is what we all need to be able to do.
It's stunning to realize the real message here is about transforming the lives and the potential of these students, about building human capacity at a rate that's far greater than they have seen happen before.
Coming up next on The Local Show, we continue with our occasional series of features we call Women and Girls Lead, in which we profile females from all walks of life who inspire us with stories of resilience, hope, and empowerment.
The series, created for the web and TV, is a collaboration between KCPT and the Independent Television Service. This week, meet Kansas City Star lifestyle columnist Janae Osterheld.
Journalism has made me bend and twist and stretch and become a pretzel in ways that I never knew I could. It gave me the kind of confidence in my voice, in myself, and my ideas that have allowed me to go on and write really meaningful pieces about Barack Obama, about self-identity, about women, about my dog fighting cancer. I mean, just about anything. My readers feel like they know me, but sometimes I do feel like they only know pieces of me. My goal isn't to make them feel how I feel or think how I think. My goal is to connect with them enough so that they think about how they feel and understand where they stand and get the fact that we're still very much connected and that we're alike and that I'm just a person just like they are. My opinions just happen to go in the paper. I think I already knew the power of words. I don't think I knew how powerful the effect was. You know, once I start writing, I just try to stay true to what's happening. And it's scary. Sometimes, you know, I'm so scared to share a certain thought, you know, but I commit to it. I write about who I am and who my parents are and being mixed. My mother very much raised me in a sink or swim kind of capacity. And when I came home my senior year in high school, she put me to the ultimate test. The house was empty, and I had to kind of live on my own and figure things out. My biggest obstacle has been getting over myself. And I think that if we were all honest with ourselves, that might be all of our biggest challenges, is getting over ourselves. I think that we harp on the bad things that happen to us, or our opinion doesn't matter, or our voice is too small to be heard. And I think only very recently, like in the past few years, have I really understood how to get over myself and how to move forward and swim long and hard and keep my head above the water.
Catch more of our women and girls lead profiles in future editions of The Local Show.
And you can learn more about the project at thelocalshow.org.
And finally, Kansas City is a great arts town, and there's a lot going on, particularly on our city's stages this weekend.
We leave you with scenes from 2 new productions. The fast-paced farcical thriller comedy, The Mystery of Irma Vep, at the Kansas City Repertory Theater.
There it is again. The rapping. The rapping! As if of someone gently tapping at my chamber door! Hey, Lady Enid, what's going on? What's going on in here? Oh, I heard a rapping, as if of someone gently tapping at my chamber door! Lady Enid, 'tis the wind and nothing more. I fear Lord Edgar and I are drifting apart. It's a terrible thing to marry an Egyptologist and find out he's hung up on his mummy.
Then there's the political rock and roll musical Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson at the Unicorn.
I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Nick Haynes. We'll see you next time on The Local Show.
It's not blood, it's a metaphor for love. These aren't pains, just the beating of my heart. This fever isn't real, it represents how I feel.
Principal funding for The Local Show provided by Francis Family Foundation, Frederick and Louise Hartwig Family Fund, Kaufman Foundation, Healthcare Foundation of Greater Kansas City, Hall Family Foundation, Johnson County Community College. Additional support provided by and KCPT members. Thank you.